Professor Kukral here. The sun's going down, the barometer's falling, and Halloween's coming. And many of you have asked me for a Halloween story that you've heard me tell other students maybe. So I have a Halloween story. I think everybody has some Halloween story from their hometown, some ghost story, some haunting, something unexplainable that happens in the deep dark corners of an old barn or well or spring or house that you may know that's been long empty. Well, this is a true story. It used to be very difficult to tell. I think that with time we can start to remove ourselves from horrible tragedies that happen in our past and see them in different lights. So anyways, this is a true story for Halloween. It's pretty frightening, and it's something that happened to me a long time ago. It's getting longer and longer. So let's go back. It was back the year I graduated from high school. Little town in northeast Ohio. And, graduation was a great time. That summer was one of the best summers we ever had. There was nothing to worry about, nothing to do but plan on the future and plan on going away to college. And that summer we all had summer jobs and saw our friends and had a pretty good time that summer. Back then in Ohio, the drinking age was 18, so we could buy beer when we were 18, and there's no problem at all. So here we are, a hot summer night in June. We graduated on June 4th, and about 2 weeks after graduation, we had an unofficial senior party. We had our official senior party like most classes do, and that was fun and good time. And we lived pretty much out in the country then. It wasn't too built up. There were still farms around, and development hadn't happened too extensively as it has now. But so about 2 weeks after graduation, we had a party. And it was over on Route 18. I'm sure that farm is all gone. It was over on Route 18 between Medina and Akron. And one of our classmates' family had a farm over there, and we had a couple kegs of beer. It was out in the field behind the barn and down one of the many entrances as farms normally have. And we had a great time. We all got along. School was over. All those old problems of cliques and everything pretty much done for us. And everybody had a pretty good time there. Okay. So here we are, and like any party that long ago, I don't remember a lot about it. Probably drank some beer, probably talked to some people, hung out. I know we had a little bonfire, even though it was hot, but you want to keep some of the bugs away. And then I went home. Like, what else are you going to do, right? And so I decided to drive home sort of on the back roads. I probably took Medina Line Road, or maybe I was driving on Hametown Road. Might have been Hametown. It's a pretty dark road. There's no lights down there. There's a lot of woods. It's not open land. Parts of the road were gravel then. And so I'm going home that way, and my headlights pick up on somebody walking on the road. And it wouldn't be so unusual, but it was well after midnight. And it's one of my classmates. It's one of the guys from my class. So it's somebody I knew. I've known him for many years. I've known him since 7th grade. And he's walking down the road. He was at the party. I don't remember seeing him at the party, but he was there and he was walking home. So what do? You stop and give him a ride, right? Because he's got a couple miles yet to go to get home. So I stop and say, hey, you want to ride home? I'm heading your way. Yeah, he gets in the car. And he's sitting in the car and doesn't say a whole lot. I can tell he had a lot more to drink than me. I didn't have much to drink. I really never even drank in high school. And college was sort of a different story. But anyway, so I give him a ride home, going up Bath Road where he lived. And Pull in the driveway of his house. He's pretty quiet. I mean, just sitting there as he often could do, even in school. I knew him in school. I'd see him every day in school, talk to him. He was sort of a funny guy. He cracked us up and made us laugh a lot in high school, and especially junior high. He was always making us laugh. So I gave him a ride home. His house was really dark. I figured everybody was asleep. I didn't realize nobody was living there anymore but him, and the house was up for sale. Pulled in his driveway and talked to him a little bit, like, what are you going to do now? Are you going to college? Are you working? I don't really remember our conversation. I don't remember him saying too much at all. And it was late. I was tired. I needed to get home. And he got out of the car and left. Went in his house on the side of the hill there, house in the woods. And I never saw him again. Never. He vanished. At least from my life. And didn't think much of it. But he was gone. At our class reunion about 5 years later, our 5-year class reunion, his name came up, and he was one of the guys who didn't show up, and we wondered what happened to him. We were making some jokes about him that he wasn't there. And that was sort of funny. But we didn't know where he went. We never saw him after high school days, this guy. Other people you see all the time. This guy we didn't see. So we were making some fun of him and stuff and didn't know whatever happened to him. Well, let's move ahead a little bit. Like I said, he vanished. I never saw him again. He disappeared in a way from my life. And all of our lives from my high school class. I don't think any of us ever saw him again. Go forward about 13 years, actually. 13 years later, finishing up graduate school, and I'm doing some research in Europe for my dissertation, and I'm on a train. I got a long ride going out of Prague, about 6 hours. Almost ready to come home, almost done. Spent a year in Europe. I bought a newspaper, which I normally don't do. I bought the International Herald Tribune out of Paris, the English edition, to read on the train. And I open it up, not on the front page, not on the second page, but somewhere inside. I open it up, and what captures my attention, what captures my eye? There's a picture of a house in my hometown that I knew very well. When I was a kid, a young kid, I took piano lessons in that house. And the last time I was at that house was giving this guy a ride home. Way back then, 13 years earlier. And I read the caption. And the caption says, "The house in which Mr. Dahmer confessed to his first murder." And I thought, Mr. Dahmer killed somebody. Jeff's dad killed somebody. And then I read the story that everybody else already knew back home. And it said, Jeffrey Dahmer, who's admitted to cannibalizing and killing 17 young men and boys, is now in custody. This is my classmate, Jeff Dahmer. I knew him since 7th grade. He was a funny kid. He's a smart guy. Didn't see him a lot our senior year. He sort of drifted away from us. He started drinking a lot. But when we were younger, I knew him. We all knew him because he was a kid who cracked us up. And now he's confessed to murdering 17 people, eating their body parts, keeping their heads in his refrigerator, and other things. After growing up in my hometown, he soon moved away to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And most of his short life was spent in Milwaukee, where he committed 16 of the 17 murders. The first one, though, was back home in that house on Bath Road, in that house where I gave him a ride to. That was his first murder. Long time ago. So, if you're sitting there on a Halloween night, look around. Look at your classmates and your roommates. They might seem normal and even funny and decent people and not scary whatsoever and not dangerous at all. And maybe a dozen years in the future, you'll open up a newspaper to read about some horrendous atrocities that they committed in their lives. It happens. It happened to me. There's no explaining the actions of Jeffrey Dahmer. If you don't know much about him, look him up. Okay, so he was my classmate in high school days. That's my Halloween story. It's a true story, and I hope everybody has their own story that they can add to this. Okay, so happy Halloween out there. The sun is going down. See you later. Bye, guys.